Chapter 1. The Peach Blossom-Colored Mushroom Princess. When Agnes opened her eyes, the room was already bright. She sat up and stretched her arms as high as they would go. Okay, time to figure out what I'm going to do now. After that little scene she'd caused, no one would want to marry her now. She was damaged goods. But, to be honest, she didn't really want to get married anyway. Still, she couldn't just stay home like this, cluttering up the place and being a burden. In actuality, Agnes was the daughter of Count Lefort's younger sister. In other words, she was his niece. Her mother had married a commoner, so until she was 11 years old, Agnes had been raised as one too. After losing both her parents in a carriage accident, she'd been taken in by her uncle, Count Lefort. Count Lefort's wife had also been riding in that carriage, so he'd lost both his wife and younger sister in the same accident. Agnes was the sole survivor of that accident, and she was forever grateful to her uncle for taking her in when she had no other family to turn to. Agnes was 18 now, and, over the past 7 years, her uncle had showered her with love and affection, raising her to want for nothing. So, naturally, she simply couldn't bear to do anything to inconvenience him. Agnes's birth father had been a foreigner from a neighboring country. The Visage Kingdom was ruled over by the Visage royal family, who had dragon blood. But her father's country was different. It was rife with divine spirits who protected the land. Agnes's peach blossom-colored hair could be attributed to that part of her heritage. Her eyes were also a vivid green, the color of verdigris, another feature considered very unusual in the Visage Kingdom. Agnes's unusual appearance was considered unsightly in Visage, where the people were unfamiliar with the spirits. As a result, she drew unwanted attention toward herself and her family. Women of the aristocracy wore their hair long as a rule, so Agnes couldn't simply cut off her peach blossom locks. She'd tried dyeing it several times, but something always went wrong, and the color didn't take. Perhaps it was because of her hair texture. Her younger brother, Kevin, would carry the family name, so Agnes was spared that burden. Still, she'd hate to do anything to jeopardize his recent official entry into society. It was a very delicate time. So the best thing for me to do was return to common life. Having grown up a commoner, Agnes could do most things, like housework, herself. Even while living as a count's daughter, she continued to help maintain the household. She was glad she did too, when she'd caught her first glimpse of Philip's foul temper. Agnes had decided then and there to make sure she could always take care of herself, so that if, one day, Philip sprang a divorce on her in a sudden fit of rage, she wouldn't be totally ruined. Still, I never expected this to happen during the engagement stage. I guess he spared me from experiencing it later. Philip had proven himself to be more of a fool than Agnes had ever expected. But then again, this was practically bound to have happened sooner or later. She might as well return to common life while she still had her health and youth. Most aristocrats would faint in horror at the prospect of having to live as a commoner. In fact, they could imagine no greater punishment. But Agnes didn't really mind at all. And this way, she wouldn't have to watch that cheater, Philip, live out his days. Yes, she'd be spared that particular eyesore. This is actually the best outcome, if you think about it. So, I think I'll just go back to living as a commoner. Benoit Lefort gazed at his niece seated before him, his brows knitted in consternation.
You think? But, Agnes, what's made you think this way?
I was dumped in front of the ton at a high society party. I'm obviously damaged goods now. No one will come to seek my hand in marriage again. So, to avoid being a burden on the household, I feel it's better to return to common society." Agnes spoke cheerfully, but Benoit sighed.
I heard about last night's incident. It does sound awful, but Philip was obviously in the wrong. Besides, the man himself admitted that he's been carrying on an affair for the past month in front of everyone.
Yes, he did admit that, didn't he? Gosh, what a brainless thing to do. Philip really is a royal idiot. Even if that idiocy of his does lend him immunity to the mushrooms.
I'm certain most people will be on your side,
Benoit continued.
I'm not saying we'll have suitors knocking down our door, but there's no need to throw it all away and go back to being a commoner. Even if you never marry, you'll always be a child of this household, Agnes.
Agnes had always loved her Uncle Benoit's golden hair and red-brown eyes. If only I'd been born with normal-colored hair, perhaps all this could have been avoided. I'm so grateful to you for taking me in, Father. Even though I am your niece. And I love Kevin, too. I love you both. So, you see, I don't want to be a burden to either of you.
And I'm telling you, you could never be a burden to us. You were hurt the most by yesterday's unpleasantness. You should take some time to heal. You can always plan out what to do next later. There's no rush.
Philip was only really a fringe member of the royal family, yes. But their engagement had been warmly welcomed. Her uncle had every right to scold Agnes for losing this key opportunity, which would have only led to prosperity for the Lefort household. The fact that he was being so kind despite this made Agnes's heart swell with love for him. Please don't be nice to me right now. I don't want to start sprouting mushrooms on you.
As long as they're edible, I say sprout away.
For you, Father, I'd sprout the finest edible mushrooms around.
You mean matsutake? I could go for a couple right now. But listen, Agnes. I want you to take some more time. Think things over.
All right. Agnes had been so sure that a return to commoner life would solve all her problems. But it was clear she wasn't going to get the permission she needed from her uncle. Without Benoit's approval and support, it'd be hard to get started as a commoner on her own. After all, it was very difficult for a young, single woman to rent a place to stay on her own. Not that she'd any money to pay rent or other living expenses. You needed some money up front, which means I need to get some funds together. Up until now, Agnes had always asked her uncle for money, but that wasn't an option anymore. I could always sell some things I don't need and make money that way. Agnes returned to her room and pulled out all of her dresses. They were all simple and sort of drab, at Philip's request. Philip had also wanted to tie up and hide her stunning hair so it wouldn't be so noticeable. After all, the people of Visage tended to turn their noses up at it. He also wanted her to keep her clothing and makeup as plain and understated as possible. She'd gone along with his demands. She knew her hair stood out in a bad way, and she preferred to fly under the radar to reduce the number of strangers who approached her. She regretted it now, though. Dresses in this sort of boring color palette would be difficult to sell. Well, maybe dresses like this would appeal more to older women? I should give it a try at least.
Lady Agnes, have you finished up your meeting with his lordship? The bath is all prepared for you.
Agnes turned to see her maid, Therese, a plump woman who worked nimbly and speedily despite her stature. Thank you. I'll be heading out once I've had my bath. Therese, could you put these dresses together in a bundle for me?
Whatever do you plan to do with all of these dresses, my lady?
Agnes flashed a brilliant smile at Therese. I'm going to sell them. The whole lot of them. They may have been drab, but Agnes's dresses were finely made and of considerable quality. She was a count's daughter, after all. She would have no use for them as a commoner. She could start afresh if she got rid of them all at once. She'd sell her jewelry and accessories as well, apart from a few sentimental pieces. All she needed was a few simple pinafore dresses for everyday wear. Agnes wasn't sure what she was going to do with Claude's handkerchief. She'd made up her mind to ask Uncle Benoit to dispose of it for her when she left home for good. After ruminating in the bath and solidifying her plans, Agnes dried off and slipped her arms through the sleeves of one of her simple dresses.
Lady Agnes, are you sure you want to do this?
Yes, it's fine.
But these are all the dresses you own.
They were all Philip's tastes anyway, not mine. Besides, I'll have no occasion to wear them in the future. I can at least benefit from them if I sell them.
But what do you intend to do with the money?
It'll be put to good use. Frowning, Therese fell silent as she carried the bundle of dresses for Agnes. By carriage, Agnes made her way to a most convenient little shop. It sold a variety of things and bought secondhand items too. As Agnes was busily creating a mountain of dresses atop the shop counter, a man in his early 30s emerged from the back.
Good day to you, Lady Lefort. Mushrooms again today, is it?
No, not this time. Today, I was hoping to sell these dresses. The man nodded sagely, casting his eye across the dress mountain.
I see. All right, let's take a look-see.
The man began combing through the pile of dresses, examining each one and making notes on a notepad with his appraisal. He was the owner of this little shop, and Agnes was a regular customer. She made herself comfortable on a nearby sofa and waited for the shopkeeper to finish.
Well, they're all of fine quality, but these colors, they're so drab.
Yes, I know they might not sell among women my age, but I was thinking that elderly ladies might like them.
With a few simple ornamentations added, they might. I'll have to make some adjustments, so let's factor that into the price. And the jewelry is very nice as well. That should sell no problem. All right, how about this much?
The shopkeeper finished his appraisal swiftly and handed Agnes a piece of paper. Depending on how much money he was offering, making arrangements to leave home was either about to get a good deal easier or not. Nervously, Agnes reached for the piece of paper and accidentally bumped hands with the shopkeeper. At that exact instant, 5 brown mushrooms sprouted up the length of his arm. Each one appeared in sequence, with a series of cute popping sounds. Agnes slowly lifted her eyes to meet the shopkeeper's.
Oh, please forgive me, my lady. I did not mean to touch your hand.
No, it was my fault. Seemingly used to this kind of thing, the shopkeeper plucked the mushrooms off his arm and examined them in a bunch.
Ah, Leophyllum decastes, the chicken of the gravel. Quite edible, but not particularly rare. I can't give you much for them, but if you'd like to sell...
Please, accept them as a token of my esteem instead.
If you insist, then gladly. A tasty little mushroom, this one. Very firm, very toothsome.
Agnes sighed as she watched the shopkeeper hurry into the back of the shop, smiling and clutching the handful of mushrooms. The reason why Agnes had become a regular patron of this shop? It all came down to the mushrooms. She had developed a fear of men ever since her commoner days, when they would flock to her in droves and make all kinds of passes at her because of her peach blossom-colored hair. As a result, the protective spirits that dwelled within her reacted to this fear by, for some inexplicable reason, causing mushrooms to sprout on any man who approached her. Men Agnes found particularly intimidating would be blighted with the biggest, most poisonous of mushrooms in great numbers. The neighborhood boys who teased her took to calling Agnes the Peach Blossom Mushroom Princess as they fled from her, their bodies covered in clusters of mushrooms. It had hardly been the best of childhoods, but Agnes felt safe with the men of her family. Mushrooms hardly ever sprouted on her adoptive father Benoit or her brother Kevin. When they did, they were of the harmless, tasty, and edible varieties. In the early days of their engagement, Philip had been the hapless recipient of spontaneous mushroom sprouting as well. But, bit by bit, as Agnes got to know him and realized how daft he truly was, he almost seemed to become immune. Hardly any mushrooms sprouted on Philip by the end. Once Agnes began seeing Philip as an incompetent younger brother, the mushroom magic all but stopped working on him. Yes, Philip's fungal immunity had been a major point in his favor, but that hardly mattered anymore. After all, he'd broken off their engagement for good. Unable to accept the prospect of a marriage smothered in mushrooms, Agnes had given up on the idea altogether. Benoit could use his connections to find her someone understanding and trustworthy, no doubt. But until he dropped his bombshell, she thought she'd already found that in Philip. She couldn't risk trusting another man again. Besides, she could somehow sense that the mushroom reflex had only grown stronger now. She'd missed her one chance. All right, I've sold my most valuable possessions. It's time to think about what else I can do to make money. Back in her bedroom, Agnes was gazing down at her remaining dresses with her arms crossed. These were among the ones she'd taken to the store, but the shopkeeper had rejected them for being too drab to sell. She'd no further use for them either, but they were still made of good quality material, drab or not. She couldn't just throw them away. Agnes got out her sewing kit and brandished a pair of fabric shears. "What are you doing, sis?" While Agnes was engrossed in her sewing, a figure spoke to her from the nearby chair. It was her younger brother, Kevin, with his golden hair and reddish-brown eyes. He was her cousin by blood and brother through adoption. He'd lost his mother the same day she'd lost hers. "What does it look like? I'm making a skirt and a hair ribbon."
What for?
"Taking apart some old dresses. Hate to just throw them away."
But why? Why are you taking your dresses apart?
Oh, Kevin. You haven't heard? Agnes explained about her engagement being off, which was why she no longer needed these drab dresses and why she was taking them apart. Kevin sighed and rolled his eyes.
Gosh, sis, why are you always so melodramatic? And anyway, all your dresses are drab. You'll have nothing left to wear.
Well, these are the ones that were far too drab to even sell. I'm going to cut them up and make them into a skirt and a hair ribbon.
You shouldn't be doing that. It's not appropriate behavior for a count's daughter. That's seamstress work. What are you trying to do, sis?
I was about to get married to a royal, you know. Well, royal adjacent. I was going to be a countess. But now, I've got a new plan. I'm going to become a commoner instead.
But why?
Kevin shot a glance at Therese, who'd just walked in holding a tray of tea. They shared a nod and a conspiratorial sigh together.
All right. I'm fine with you giving up the dresses. After all, you only bought those ugly things to appease Lord Philip and his odd fixation. But there's no need to try to sell them or cut them up.
Fixation?
Forget that part. It hardly matters anymore. All I'm saying is, now you can wear nice, colorful dresses again. I'm sure you'll look lovely in them.
Indeed, ever since getting engaged to Philip, Agnes had slowly replaced her entire wardrobe of colorful dresses with bland, boring ones. No! I'm aiming for a commoner life. I won't need fancy gowns anymore.
Why, though? Why do you have to go to such lengths? You haven't done anything wrong, sis. Really, it's fine. Philip's the one who went off and had an affair and called off your engagement and made a scene, not you.
Even so, no one's gonna want Philip's reject now. And if I stay at home, I'll end up putting off your future bridal prospects too, Kevin. No one wants to deal with a jilted spinster sister-in-law who was rejected by a royal suitor, now do they? I'd never put that burden on your shoulders.
No, Agnes would rather die than become a burden to her beloved family. So, you're going to become a commoner?
Yup. I'm pretty confident that I can handle it. I'm sturdy, you know. I could be a seamstress or even work in the fields. After all, I was raised as a commoner. It should be easy to slip right back into it.
Kevin shook his head as Agnes grinned at him, her fists balled up in a display of bravado. But you're missing the point. I don't want you to go back to being a commoner. Neither does Father.
Thank you, Kevin. It's sweet of you to say that.
Agnes had been blessed with a loving family and counted herself lucky for it. That was why she was doing this. It was all for them. Agnes smiled as her dress shears sliced through fabric.